See, I have to like, I have to have a watch, and I have to have a watch with numbers, so I can like actually see how much longer my torture class is going to last, without having it look totally obvious that I'm looking at the clock.
You know, when the professor is looking, you know, it's bad signs.
Get me out of here! I'm sick of you
What are
people.
you teaching this?
U.S. history, the first half.
Oh, that's gotta be interesting, huh?
It is to me, apparently not to anybody else.
My 11-year-old grand, we just have been babysitting for 4 days and we are like fried. But she is, she's in 5th grade, they're doing U.S. history.
Oh,
So
nice.
last summer, we had to go on the Freedom Train.
Oh, wow.
A lot of it, and the duck tour. But, you know, the one that goes in the water, they recently one of them capsized.
Oh, that horrible boat.
Yes.
What is that?
It's an amphibious tank, and it drives around Boston, the sites
Oh,
of the
right.
Freedom Trail, and then it goes into the harbor. Just drives right into the
Right.
harbor.
Is that what they do?
Yes.
But they go underwater?
No,
No,
they
they
just
just sit.
float.
Oh, I see, so it's like a boat car,
Yes.
like James Bond.
It started with like something left over from World War II. And now they make their
But
own.
they're always all ducked like this, because they can just walk into the water like that. Okay.
But she was really keen on all the sites and the Freedom Trail. Now she's doing the Renaissance. The best one is my 8-year-old granddaughter. They have to do a report several months long on a famous person, and they do a portrait of them in art and
Oh, cool.
dressed like
Oh,
like
that's
them.
great.
So
Oh,
this
how
age,
nice.
I'm
Yeah.
gonna be William Shakespeare.
Very nice, very nice.
Because they were in London and they went to the Globe Theatre, and her teacher says, you know, your second choice was Marie Curie. Now, wouldn't that be a good one to do? She goes, I want to be, and she got it. She convinced the teacher that.
Why not?
Right, that he was an actor, and I tried to explain to her that in those days, all the actors played women. You know, so-
Exactly. That's what I was saying.
She wasn't interested in that.
Like an actor playing a woman playing a man.
Right. Okay, 2 minutes and we're gonna start, because we have a car, even in this time here.
Yes, no,
On what?
MLK,
Have you heard from them?
no,
Okay, because,
okay.
you know, I wrote to,
Yeah. You did? Okay,
oh, good.
I think
Okay.
I need to slip into that meeting next door.
What are they doing?
COD campus.
Yeah, I guess we should go. It's gonna be so
I
exciting.
just walked by Herdsworth campus.
we had a meeting last night, that's why
You didn't have to commute.
I said, well, I'd find out today, you know, I've not been available, but thank you. We'll talk
One more
afterwards.
minute, we're gonna start, and
I got a tip
sure
for
that-
you, my history teacher, the way he kept on teaching, now that I look back, is that he would wear wrinkled clothes, unironed.
So you couldn't get
Right.
Who is that guy?
Don't try that.
I'll try it.
No.
All right, so we have special meeting first.
Melanie to something tomorrow. I know she's on a big trip. You did. I see, you don't wanna come to our meeting, you just want our chairs? That's all right. Don't take it personally. What are they doing in there? They need
Okay. All right. I would like to call to order the meeting of the Public Arts Commission of the City of Palm Springs for November 29th, 2018. Mr. Verada, would you please
Yes.
call the roll?
Commissioner Pritchard.
Present.
Commissioner Murray.
Here.
Commissioner Merrigan.
Present.
Commissioner Gladstone. Commissioner Brenner. Vice Chair Yanni.
Present.
Chair Sheffer.
Present. And we do have a quorum. May I have a motion, please, to accept the agenda?
I'll make a motion to accept today's agenda for the meeting on Thursday, November 29th at 4 p.m.
All in
Second that
favor?
motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Very good. This is the time for public comments, and since we are going from this meeting into a study session, I'd like to suggest that we not read the whole paragraph again later, but that if anyone wishes to speak, we will make time for it at the very beginning of the study session. This time has been set aside for members of the public to address the Public Arts Commission on items of general interest within the subject matter jurisdiction of the Public Arts Commission, and agenda items if the member of the public cannot be present later in the meeting at the time the item is heard by the Commission. Additionally, members of the public may address the Commission on each item listed on the posted agenda at the time each item is heard. Although the Public Arts Commission values your comments pursuant to the Brown Act, it generally cannot take any action on items not listed on the posted agenda, and 5 minutes is assigned for each speaker. Do we have anyone who would like to make general comments? Okay. Let me just comment that our agenda for this special meeting consists of 2 action items having to do with murals. And the reason they are on, we have a special meeting for them, is that we had to make sure that the public notice was out in time to any neighboring properties within 500 feet. And I hope I got a copy of it in the mail. I think you did also. So now we can proceed to approve these 2 action items, both of which I would mention we have discussed before, but just were unable to vote on. Commissioner Yanni, why don't you read the first one so it will be in the record.
So the first one is regarding the mural application from the the Hotel Arrive. The piece is called Untitled. It's by Gregory Siff. It is on the exterior wall of Arrive Hotel. And the action item is that we make a recommendation to City Council to approve that mural. So we can discuss it.
Okay.
I mean, we discussed it a little bit last
And
time.
why don't we have, come up and make sure your mic is on and give us your name and spell it for the lady who writes the minutes. And then if there are any comments or questions, we'll
Good evening. My name is Matt Steinberg, Steinberg. I am the CEO of Arrive and here on behalf of the applicant Palm Grove Group. I'm here to answer any questions the Commission may have. I just want to first apologize for the order in which this process is unfolded. There was a miscommunication amongst us, and I am sincerely sorry for having erected the mural before going through the process. We have educated ourselves on the process now, and it will not happen again. So again, I apologize for that. Generally speaking, I just want to emphasize how excited we are to have this visual artist put a work up at our hotel. Gregory Siff is somebody who we're really excited to work with, who has murals all over the world in this type of style. We think this is a great piece of art that celebrates Jewish culture, Jewish delis in the context of Southern California and the Coachella Valley in particular. And so we're just really excited to have something like that so visible in front of our hotel. And with that, I'm available to answer any questions at all.
I was just curious, could you just tell us how it came about? I understand there was the old sign there for the old restaurant was there, and
Sure.
so now, just how it came about that
Process.
you would change it into something more like a mural?
Sure, absolutely. As you mentioned, the restaurant at the hotel was called Reservoir, and that restaurant is no longer. We have the Wexler's Delicatessen come in, and they have this iconic style that they bring to all of their restaurants, and they use this Gregory Siff mural, generally associated with what they do. They oftentimes have it inside or in different places within the building, but it represents their sort of iconic style that they bring to their restaurants. So it was seemed like a natural that we would bring it here, and we feel like it has enough sort of, we feel like it has this enough artistic value that's really something beautiful that we wanted to display to the world rather than taking those panels off and putting them inside the hotel, which would have been a possibility, I suppose, but it felt really appropriate.
So it's a reproduction of a previously existing piece?
It's original. He does
So it's like
something in the
adapted.
similar,
Okay.
it's similar iconography in his other murals related to these restaurants. More broadly speaking, you'll see that this style transcends sort of all of his artwork. It's kind of hand-spun, kind of rough icons, sometimes relating to Judaism, sometimes not.
The palm tree,
The palm-
particularly.
Right,
Could
right,
be, though.
combining, right, could be, the walk through the desert. But yes, you'll see similar styles in his other work.
I see. So he came to you through the deli, right? I mean, it sort of came with the,
They have developed a relationship over time, right, with him.
Got it, okay.
Based on their sort of shared love of both the deli lifestyle and all of that, and plus then the artistic work, and they've worked together on
so
other
what's it
occasions.
made out of?
It is acrylic on powder-coated steel.
It looks like a whiteboard. It looks like
It
he
does.
just drew it. It's sort of
I-
informal. It's kind of fun, and I don't know if any of you have driven by, but it's also not terribly big.
Right.
I mean, it's about 5, not even 5 feet high.
I appreciate
for-
the scale of it. As someone with children who enjoy the ice cream shop adjacent to it, my kids really engage with this actually, and they find different things in it. So I actually think the scale is very cool, and actually the looseness of it
Right.
is really accessible.
And the black and white. I mean, it stands out as not being so, it is something almost that you have to read as opposed to just
Yeah.
looking at it. Any other questions?
Well, just sort of a little question and a slight concern that being that you're coming to us for approval after the fact, did anyone within the organization actually read the mural ordinance? Because the murals just specifically are not supposed to have reference to an advertising for the business where the mural is.
Right.
And Wexler's is on this mural.
Right. Someone did read it, and I understand that concern. I hope that taken sort of in total, this mural transcends the commercial nature of what I think you're referring to. I think you'll find some icons in there that are not related to the commercial business that's happening inside the restaurant. There's clearly sort of references to traditional modern Jewish delis, generally speaking, in Southern California. There's no doubt, I think, that the issue you're raising is one that does need to be addressed.
But are you open to the option of having the reference to the actual business removed from the mural?
I was wondering if someone was going to ask that, and I have not asked the artist if that's something.
I think that would be up to the planning department, which has reviewed this. I mean, we're not part of the sign ordinance. We are looking at it as it, sort of aesthetically, whether it's,
True.
so I would think if it had run afoul of the sign ordinance, that there would have been, do you think, a report from the planning department?
I didn't receive any comments from them in that regards.
So,
I share the same concern.
Need to turn your mic on.
I share the same concern. I like the piece, but it's an advertisement for me, and I'm worried that if we approve yours, then the next one down the line is gonna have someone else's name in their mural. And when we did the Covered California one last year, they had to change the wording on the mural before it was approved through planning, so. I know that the city, you're only allowed to have one sign for your business.
Is there a sign?
But
There-
that's,
right,
it
there-
says
there's a
Wexler's
well,
on the,
sorry,
yeah, there is a
I
sign there.
apologize, there's a sign, yeah.
You could make an argument that Wexler's holds a kind of iconic status in Southern California in Jewish deli culture and in Jewish food culture. That argument could be made, and thus it fits into the larger sort of artistic apparatus. I mean, if we're going to go there with approving this, does this even qualify as a mural? It is very small. It almost, I forget what the scale of what is considered a mural, but I was actually very surprised at the scale when I actually visited it, and that this qualifies as a mural. I mean, if there were to just be, if it had been tiled or something, would that constitute a mural? I'm not, it's not very big.
Yeah, because originally when they covered it just with the white panels, that they were there, and I thought that was really clever. It
Covered,
could be a sign. I mean, you could just call
well,
it a sign.
I'm not sure that, I mean, I must admit, when I saw it, I didn't notice the Wexlers because there were so many other things to look at. My feeling is that overall, as a mural, as a piece of interesting art, that's our jurisdiction, and I'm fairly comfortable with it. And I do believe that the one other mural where there was an issue was the one for Hot Purple, which was very much like a billboard, and which I note is still up somewhere in the city. I'm inclined, and I also, I would like to commend these guys on, as soon as I called them and said, oh, by the way, there's a mural ordinance, they went to work right away to apply and to meet it.
If I could add, I don't think it directly addresses the concern you're raising, but I would note that the media and the press attention that's been directed at this, people are considering this a piece of art as opposed to signage. There's been some real attention paid to it. We've paid quite a bit of money for this beyond what we ever would have paid for signage because we believe it's accretive to the neighborhood and the community and something interesting for the community. But I certainly do understand your concern.
Madam Chair, can we move towards making a motion to approve this?
Why don't you do that? That would be great.
I'd like to yield to our Vice President if he would do that.
He's so good at
I'm
that.
probably not the right person to ask.
I make a motion that we approve the mural as stated in our agenda, letter A.
I'll second it. Is there any other discussion before we vote? All in favor of recommending this to the city council?
Aye.
Aye.
I'll abstain.
All
abstain.
opposed? Opposed?
Opposed.
Opposed.
2 opposed. 3.
3, 2, 1.
Okay, the motion passes. I would suggest, and I will be happy to do it, that we write a note to the city council that we did discuss this, so that it doesn't come up, in their meeting or someone think of it at the last moment, just that we did discuss it and the motion passed. Okay?
Well, thank you all
Thank
for
you
your time
for
for
coming,
considering it.
and
I
thank
appreciate
you.
it. And if there's more communications
hope
that I
you'll
can
do
do to
more
help assist,
murals, but
please. Yes.
apply ahead of time.
Well, thank you all so much. I appreciate
Thanks
it.
for
Thank you.
coming.
Okay, next one, you want to read
Set it up.
item?
Next item is agenda A2, And this is regarding a mural at St. Paul's in the Desert Church called Cast Your Bread Upon the Waters by Bernard Hoyes. This also is something that we've looked at earlier, and we can review information in the packet.
This is also one where the commission has expressed a desire to pay the mural fees. In this case, it would have to be refunded because they've already been paid. But I did inquire in the future if we wanted to pay the fees for a mural, if at the time of the application it could just be charged to our budget instead of being paid. And Dr. Reddy thought that that would be possible, and that, oh, look, it's coming along.
Oh, wow.
Okay. Do you want to make a few comments, or do you want to just field questions? It's up to you.
Can I make a few comments first?
Absolutely.
Could you please identify yourself and spell
I'm
your name?
Andrew Green. I'm the priest at St. Paul in the Desert, and
You don't have to sit that close.
I don't have to sit that close.
But he at least is doing it.
Sorry.
Thank you.
Is that good?
That's great.
Not used to your mics. Since the last time I met with you, we got this done, and I like the look of it because it gives more of a sense of its place and everything else. If you could go back to the one with the grid on it, please. Okay, so this one with the grid also has letters and numbers, and those relate to this piece, that some of the iconography of this mural. And I'll just note that H2, we've got Dr. King. Above him is Fred Barnhill. This is on this sheet here. So we're looking at F3 on the grid there, kind of all around Our Lady of Guadalupe. So the four faces there, which I hope will all be a little more lifelike on the actual mural, those are Dr. King and 3 local Palm Springs clergy who worked together for civil rights in Palm Springs. Now, the kind of civil rights were kind of a bit simpler, getting a Jew and an African American into the Rotary Club, for example. People don't realize that, that wasn't always a thing.
Neither were women, by the way.
Yeah, they went there before women. And so if you look over on the far side on 16F, you see looks like a cowboy on a horse with a flag. I think notice the American flag kind of morphing into the Mexican flag colors. That fellow on the horse traditionally would be St. George and the dragon, and the dragon's down below there. Mm-hmm. The guy on the horse is actually Gene Autry. And his wife, I talked to her about it, and she says she'll get us some pictures so we can have better pictures for him. And so you've got, was it Montgomery Clift and Dinah Shore, and the woman swimming, potentially, what is it? Esther Williams, that's it. And then we've got Serena in there. One of the things that I think is kind of an interesting piece is the shape of the water is shaped like some of the colors that are from our stained glass windows in the church. So they're not symbolic of anything, they're just shapes from that source. I don't feel like I need to tell you much more about it, but if you have questions, I'll be glad to answer them.
Do you want to, what's the schedule? What's your plan for, will it be done by Martin Luther King Day?
I believe it'll be done before that, and I'm hoping that we can have an unveiling. I don't know that the unveiling will be at the same time as the King celebration, which will be at the church, because I don't want this to take away from that event.
I think
I
it
want to
would
do it at a
add to
different
it,
time.
but,
Might add to it.
but it's up to the committee. I mean, but you could.
Right, and so I'd just be very hesitant to do something that was an all about St. Paul's kind of event. Interestingly enough, there will be a group of young people, I think young ladies, from the organization called BRAF, Building Resilient African American Families, who will be painting with the muralist. He hopes to have a kind of an apprentice muralist who may even be able to document it, because he's evidently become famous for documenting his own street art. And so I'm just kind of excited about it getting rolling. And the artist gets back the 10th of December from Jamaica, and he has some things that he's doing at the Art Museum for 2 days, I think the 14th, 15th. And as soon as that's done, then he'll get on board with making this.
I think we had a discussion the last time about whether there would be any sort of signage that would explain these.
Yes, and we're trying to figure out where we would place that. If you thought about where it is on the wall, we try to figure out some place that was adjacent. For example, the south-facing wall that's not part of the mural. That might be a nice place to do it so that it doesn't obstruct any of the mural, and we can make it big enough.
Yeah,
So the
'cause
mural
it's very interesting.
actually faces west?
Could you go ahead and
Faces
put us
east.
back to that mural picture again?
East, away from the mountain, right, okay.
Yeah, it's an east facing, which is actually nice for a mural because it will weather better.
And there's no protective covering or anything, it's on that? So
Well, you
this is
see the
what we're
tile
looking-
there that goes out about 6 inches
So not,
over that section, and no, there's no protective covering.
right. I guess I missed part of this when we talked about it last time, so it's like the fade, we've had a big issue with fading, right?
Right.
Here, especially if it's facing east, so has you addressed that at all, and like the paint or like a sealer or something like that?
Well, we will be, there was some material that I submitted to the planning department today. The company that makes the paint, they actually had a page on murals. And I copied that and sent it to the planning department. But they say murals that are on the north or east faces do better than things on the south and west. And this is designed to have high-quality acrylic paints, and then it will have a varnish over the whole piece. It's quite expensive, and there'll be one coat over everything, and probably a second coat over the area that's within reach. And then part of the maintenance of that will be keeping it clean and then revarnishing as needed.
And is it your intention that it's like a permanent mural that will stay on for a very long time, or are you imagining it as like a couple years?
The fact that we're spending $10,000 on it or more has made the length of time we want it to be there increase. But when I first began thinking about it, when Al and I were first talking about it, I really like the idea of ephemeral art that goes away. I know this plan has to be there for at least a year. I'm telling my board at least 2 years. My treasurer wants to say at least 3 years so that he feels like it can be capitalized. But, the idea would be is if this works, I would like to see us do something else, if
Right.
that's a good space for this.
I think that's a great idea.
And I think that it actually plays into my understanding of our role as a church, which is it's not about making sure that the church buildings themselves stay, but it's the fact that they provide a service. And so the idea that this art provides a service and brings people to look and everything else, after a couple of years, we don't really need a legacy piece there. That's what my thinking is. I may not even be here in 3 years, and they may decide, oh my gosh, Andrew got this here, we've got to keep it up. But so I hope there'll be people who will have other opinions.
I guess my question, because obviously it's going to deteriorate over time, and
Yes.
so I don't want to, whoever the arts commissioners are in the future, don't want to be sitting here saying, you can't take it down, or, do you know what I'm saying? Like, so I want it sort of on record that it's something that was imagined as a temporary piece, and so that, 15 years from now, when it's still hanging on, you don't have people, and it's all faded and cracking and pieces falling off, that you don't have people saying,
Amen.
we have to preserve the mural. Right?
Yeah. Churches tend to be like that. Father so-and-so did such and such, so, Jesus taught us this. And the reality is, that it just happened that way one day and now it's become a tradition. I prefer to see things change and to see things be thrown away when they're not useful. And I would think that if this was not useful, we may decide to paint the whole church in 2 years and we may paint the whole thing at that point.
Thank you. I want to make sure other people have a chance to ask questions. I've asked a lot.
Any other questions?
I have a concern. Can I talk to you off record?
No.
No? I'm not sure if I should recuse myself. Andrew and I are brothers from another mother.
We've never paid you for that, so I don't think you have any real.
Okay. I
I
just want
think
to
you're
make sure.
just, you're
Yeah.
helping them, and you've been a big help getting them fine. And
You could
so is Russell.
abstain. I mean, you could abstain.
Identifying an artist.
Right.
I was actually going to encourage you to make the motion to approve the mural,
I think you should.
because you should.
I make a
Right. Okay, do it.
Yeah, you should.
I'd like to yield to the vice chair to make that.
You're getting a
Inside joke.
Can I just
reputation.
make
Anyone else?
one
Yeah,
request
yeah,
or one comment? I think it's really beautiful. I really like the whole thing. I would just, I don't know, I have no idea whether or not the Cahuilla dancer is a good representation. I would just make sure you look into that to make sure it's
I
a
agree.
great representation.
I don't
and
want to make
accurate.
it an appropriation that is not supported by the tribal membership. And we'll have to figure that out.
Yeah, that's my only comment.
And I know several groups are working on the mural to include the homeless.
Well, one of the things is trying to organize people who are homeless and whom you may not be able to contact regularly. But I am talking with Arlene Rosenthal from the Well in the Desert, who says she has 2 people who would like to help. And we're actually trying to raise some extra money around this to help have a stipend for somebody who would help to pay, because the artist would love to have somebody who is going to be there for a couple hours every day for a period, and not somebody who just kind of drove in, parked, and bothered everybody for half an hour as if they're now part of the deal. And so my hope is that we can have some people who will hang in for, the artist feels like this may take a month to do. Finding the scaffolding to do this was interesting. We've bought scaffolding to do it. If you know anybody who needs rolling scaffolding,
Well,
17-foot rolling scaffolding,
That's an interesting
in a month and a half, it'll be
offer.
available.
Okay.
I just have one last thing. So the other thing I'd like to encourage is, we have a social media person for the Arts Commission. So we would love to see, like recordings, get it caught on tape of the students who are working with the artist. And we'd love to see something, just to document the process a little bit. And our social media person would
If you can send me
love
information
to
and
do
And she
contacts, I would
may
love it.
show up in a little while.
And
We're
that you would
working
let
with
us,
Madalena.
you would let us
Madalena, yeah.
post that, that you would let us post that
Okay,
information on our.
So let me shift real quick. Madalena is helping us. And if you saw the one with the grids and the letters and the numbers, we're actually looking to invite people to donate and to buy a square, sponsor a
Great
square.
idea.
And so you'll see one on there that says BVM, I think. But if you go to the square that is G4, you don't need to find it. Those are each 1 inch. So we're going to blow them up to 4 inches, print them on cardstock, have the artist sign them, and then give those to people who make a donation of $60 or more.
That's a great idea.
And,
I totally
And
went through
that's
the
something
button.
that we could help put the word out on social media.
Right.
Our goal for the year is to really call attention to all that's gone on in public art for the last 30 years in Palm Springs and what's going on, because, you know, some of the pieces have been here so long that people just drive by and take them as part of the landscape. But I think all the new murals and things that are being done, if people can see the process, it's,
Madalena has an idea that I would do like a brief video explaining the mural, that Bernard Hoy is the artist, would talk about his inspiration in a brief video, and then we'd put those up on the like GoFundMe page. And all that will be mediated through Facebook and
it's a great idea.
and everything else.
Terrific.
I think that would be a lot of fun. And then, you know, somewhere you could just have a little, a key that shows who sponsored each one.
Right. And so I have a question for you all. If we found that we had 100 people who wanted the Virgin Mary Square, and you were one of those people, would you be offended if you got one of those that was signed and numbered 1 of 100, 2 of 100? Because I have a feeling that Square J, I don't know what the number on the bottom is, but right in the middle, there's just a blue swatch. I have a feeling there's not going to be a lot of people hot for that one. And so if we get 100 people who want Gene Autry's face, and I'm not letting people know that they will have exclusive on that. So,
I'm sure that, yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, if you want
Highest bidder.
exclusive,
Right.
then it's like $500. Or
Right, someone might pay
$1,000.
that for the Virgin Mary.
You'd have to tell people that it's a series, though, one of something.
Right, that's what
Right.
Yeah.
that's what I
Like
do.
1 of 100.
Right.
It could be 1 of 100.
And the
I would
artist's on
say
board with that.
maybe solicit, I mean, this is totally, you know, not a public arts court, but I mean, just like soliciting, just giving people a gift,
If they,
not connected, do you know what I'm saying? Like ask them to
Particular
donate,
square.
but make it so that they're
Separate
less,
funds.
right.
They
that
can
they
choose
don't-
which square they'd like as their gift,
as their
Right.
gift.
and it
They're
doesn't
not-
connect with
It doesn't mean
sponsoring
that they
that
Sponsoring
like
square.
own
particular
that
one.
square.
I like that.
That
Yeah,
might
What's
be
interesting, we
solution.
have a Dali, St. Joseph of Arimathea, kind of a sculpture. And I had somebody from Stewart Gallery long ago praise it. She said, yeah, it's probably Dali, but he probably forged it himself.
Right,
Because evidently he ran out of money, so he began
signing everything.
signing everything, even, you know, so we won't have to get into that kind of a.
So can I make
So-
a motion?
Yeah,
Yes.
sure.
Can I make a motion?
One question, the scaffolding, I'm sorry. Is that something the commission could buy for future murals? No?
I think that
I
would
don't think we
be,
have any place to put it.
but we could certainly see if at the next mural that we approve, we could just mention that, you know, it could be
$700
passed
bucks.
around.
Okay,
Right,
thank you. Sorry,
yeah.
sorry.
I'm not sure where we'd put it. Okay,
I believe we have a motion on the floor already from Commissioner
Oh,
Murray.
great, I'll second it.
Thank you.
Yes.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
With
Any
the-
opposed?
With the unveiling on Martin Luther King.
If you can,
we'll work
that's
on
great.
that.
And
Thank you.
the other thing is, it says in the,
Packet.
it says in the action item that we are approving,
To make a recommendation.
right,
Yeah.
that the application fees be refunded to St. Paul's for this.
I picked that up on my way out.
CJ.
Alternate Thursdays is,
I did it on a credit card, so can I tell them to just credit the credit card? It's not my credit card, so I don't get miles for it.
oh, okay. This is the first time we've done a refund, and we're gonna try to figure out, but
I won't
in
worry about
general,
it
they
today.
said that it was no problem to charge it to our budget and be able to refund it to you. So thank you, all right.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much for coming again.
All right, if there's.
Ready to
Thank
adjourn?
you, yes.
Okay. I'll make a
Would
motion
you-
to
would you,
adjourn.
Could you send us the color pictures and with the grid and everything? Just,
I'll be
cut
glad
'em
to
at
send it to Russell
okay,
and make sure, and Al, and then let them share it with you.
right, because every time we make copies, it's always black and white, so it'd be nice to have just the,
There are
JPEG.
color copies that are part of the actual packet that the planning commission.
right,
has.
but we're not sure what they did with them all.
I'll make sure you get copies.
Okay, thanks.
Thanks.
But having it on digitally would be great. Okay, so,
Thank you.
Having no
And-
further
business,
business, I move to adjourn this meeting of the Public Arts Commission to a study session, which will start immediately at 4:37 PM, Thursday, November 29th, 2018.
Second that motion.
okay, we are adjourned, and
Like, turn around.